listening to the Positive Professional Podcast with your host, me, Tracy Yvonne. This podcast is a weekly conversation about all things mental health, self-care, and wellness. And there'll be sprinkles of positivity, mindfulness, and guided meditations.
Welcome back to Season 6, Episode 19. Today is the 4th of July and what we know as Independence Day in the United States. A day full of flags, fireworks, and fanfare. For many, it's a day to celebrate American freedom, liberty, and pride. But today, I want to ask a different question and offer space for those who may feel uneasy, conflicted, or even heavy-hearted on this day. Because here's the truth. Independence for whom? Freedom for who, really? Let's go back to July 4th, 1776. When the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. It boldly declared, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." But we now know, and must say aloud, that this declaration of equality and freedom was not meant for all. The very document that proclaimed freedom was signed by men who actively denied it to others. Of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, at least 41 were slave owners at some point in their lives. So let me name some of the more prominent figures of the so-called Founding Fathers who enslaved people while signing a document proclaiming liberty. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration itself, he enslaved over 600 people in his lifetime. George Washington, not a signer of the Declaration, he was central to the founding and enslaved 123 people in 1776. Benjamin Franklin, initially a slave owner, later became an abolitionist, but not before participating in the system. James Madison enslaved over 100 people during his lifetime. Charles Carroll of Maryland, the last surviving signer of the Declaration and a wealthy plantation owner. John Rutledge, Edward Rutledge, Thomas Hayward Jr., and Arthur Middleton of South Carolina all came from enslaving families and personally owned slaves themselves. George Walton, Button Quennett, Lynn Hall of Georgia, all had direct ties to slavery and plantation systems. The list goes on, and the contradiction is glaring. They wrote about freedom while profiting from bondage. They spoke of justice while committing injustice. So when we're asked to wave flags and chant about freedom, many of us, especially Black Americans and other marginalized communities, ask, what freedom? There's an emotional toll of false promises. This contradiction between the nation's ideals and its reality is more than historical. It's psychological and it's emotional. And it lives in our nervous systems and our generational memories and lived experiences. So let's talk about the mental health impact. Living in a country that celebrates freedom while actively stripping away your rights can create racial battle fatigue, historical trauma, and deep feelings of invisibility, anger, and grief. It's gaslighting of being told to celebrate a nation that has always celebrated you. It's watching policies chip away at bodily autonomy, voting rights, LGBTQ plus protections, and immigrant dignity, while being told to be patriotic. For many, July 4th, today, could be triggering, not a celebration, but a day of cognitive dissonance. So in the next segment, I'm going to share how you can hold space for grief and power today. So if you're feeling disconnected today, maybe even numb or agitated, know this: your feelings are valid. You are not ungrateful. You are not too sensitive. You are awake. Let this episode be your permission to slip, to feel all the feels. Whether you unplug today, speak truth in your community, or spend time reflecting, you are honoring your ancestors, your identity, and your healing journey. Mental liberation is just as important as political freedom. Freedom starts from within, and many of us are still on that path together. So let's take a moment to breathe and speak these truths into existence. Say these with me or simply listen and absorb. My healing is valid, even if others don't understand it. I am allowed to feel joy and pain on the same day. I honor the resilience of my ancestors by choosing care and rest. My liberation begins within, and I am worthy of peace. My worth is not defined by symbols or celebrations. It is rooted in my truth, my history, and my healing. And let these words carry you throughout today. So here are a few gentle mental health practices that you also can consider. Unplug from the noise. You don't need to explain your feelings today. Journal your truth. Reflect on what freedom means to you. Rest without guilt. You are allowed to be still. Honor your lineage. Set a candle, say their names, and celebrate your survival. And connect with a safe community. Remember, you're not alone in this. The 4th of July will always be complex for those carrying the weight of history in our bones. The complexity does not mean weakness. It means awareness. And awareness is the first step towards healing, truth-telling, and ultimately liberation. Thank you for holding space with me today. Stay grounded, stay honest, And remember, your liberation matters. Your feelings are sacred. And your mental health deserves care every single day of the year.
Thanks for listening and supporting this podcast. And make sure you're clicking the like and subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Stay safe, be well, and don't forget to be the best version of you.